And so the telltale sign that guitars have sweet spots is this piece of equipment right here known as a pickguard. You're going to notice this little tiny movement like this. And you see this movement in professional guitar players, all right? This right here is a really cool technique that saves a lot of guitar players when they learn about it. And the idea is every guitar has a good tonal range. There's a sweet spot, and there's a bassy land, and there's a trebly land, and you want to be able to discover these lands and kind of like implement them in your songwriting or when you're playing with others, or just, trying to discover this and really having fun and really push those realms. All right, welcome back to another episode of Guitar Fundamentals on StichMethod. Today we're going to be talking about finding the sweet spot of tone on your acoustic guitar. And it's really a cool lesson when you learn how to control the instrument in front of you in ways that maybe you didn't know existed. So we're going to dive right into it. And I guess here we go. All right, so tone. Tone is pretty much, the highs and lows of the frequencies that you hear on the guitar. And every guitar has a sweet spot. And we're going to talk about that first. Now this guitar is a Taylor 814 CE, and it has a pretty nice dynamic range, but every acoustic guitar you can do this on. You can do this on whatever acoustic guitar you have and make it sound this way. All right, so the first thing you need to do is you need to find your guitar's sweet spot. So what do I mean by that? Well, every guitar is designed to sound a specific way, and grab your favorite chord, G, C, or D, whatever it is, E flat minor 7, flat 5, I don't care, whatever your favorite chord is. And I want to talk to you about how to find the sweet spot first, because we're going to take it from the sweet spot and move outwards. And so the telltale sign that guitars have sweet spots is this piece of equipment right here known as a pickguard. Now, if you don't have a pickguard, that is totally fine, but you probably know that many guitars do have pickguards, and their job is to prevent your fingers from wearing through the varnish as you move. And that's the catch right there, as you move. You can see your fingers are allowed to go from here to here on the instrument when you're plucking or strumming, but really plucking, because when you're strumming, you're kind of loose wristing it. And the idea here is that because you can see that there's a path that your fingers can follow, it means that, oh wait, maybe my fingers should be moving when I pluck. And it's this movement that affects the tone of your guitar. We'll talk about your fretting hand as well, but we're going to spend a lot of time here. And so to find your sweet spot, you want to grab your favorite chord and you want to strum it close to the bridge. You want to strum it really over the sound hole. And you can hear the difference there. And now you want to start going in between. You probably noticed that as it goes towards the headstock, it's very bassy. And as it goes towards the bridge, very tinny or high or trebly. And somewhere in between there, for me, it's right about here. Right there. And so you want to adjust your arm and everything so that you're in a sweet spot. Now that sweet spot is just where you feel like the guitar sings the best. Okay, where you can kind of feel it rumbling in your body, and the tone to you sounds the best, on that instrument. Everybody has a different sweet spot, but don't be afraid to find it. Now, let's say you found the sweet spot. This is now your center point, and anytime you move your pick closer to the headstock, you're going to get a more bassier note. The tone will get thicker. Okay, so if I'm here, if you listen, you can hear verse. Well, I don't know if you can hear it on the microphone, but there is a bassier or a more muted sound as you get closer. And so we're going to take advantage first of the bass. Now, if you're writing a song and it has some bass lines in it, but don't be afraid to move your pick towards the headstock to bring out those bass notes. Back to the sweet spot as you strum. You're going to notice this little tiny movement like this, and you see this movement in professional guitar players, all right? And so if you want something to be more bassy, you move towards the headstock. Now you can, it takes some degree of coordination to be able to pluck and move, but once you learn, you can do it, all right? Don't be afraid to experiment with just up here. Hear how that chord really sounds muted, so you kind of want to get the bass lines and the strums, and you want your strums to be in your sweet spot. Now let's just talk about trebly, or if you need to trebly. if you need to take a solo, this right here is a really cool technique that saves a lot of guitar players when they learn about it. When you're soloing sometimes, what happens is that there's this mental like space where everybody squeezes the pick harder to get more volume. And what happens is you kind of like feel like you're pushing through the strings a little bit harder than you need to. Your solos don't fly as much. I mean, you're soloing, but what happens is when you go to take a solo, whether you're playing with a bunch of people or by yourself, we tend to squeeze the pick harder and try to overcome the rest of the song with volume. And we don't want to do that. If you have a comfortable pick grip, and we'll talk about picks in a second, you can just easily move towards the bridge of your sweet spot. Not huge, but just move it so the high tones start to come out to play. And I'm going to tell you a quick analogy, and in the comment section, please let me know if you've experienced this, because this analogy really hits home. I grew up, I grew up in the suburbs. And anytime someone was mowing their lawn, for some reason they always sang. Like all my neighbors would kind of sing to themselves, not loud, but just would, mow the lawn and be like singing something, and they would be at low volume, but you could always hear them over the lawnmower. It was the weirdest thing. This lawnmower super loud, and they'd be like do 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 do, and you can hear them clearly. And the reason that is because the frequencies of the human voice are nowhere near the low frequencies of a lawnmower, so they're separate. And so the human ear can hear the singing person at a regular volume over the lawnmower because the frequencies are split. And I always chuckled at that. And so, because I used to sing sometimes, I'm like, oh my God, these people could hear me. And so we're gonna take advantage of that. Here is your lawnmower, here's the rest of the people. And if you wanna cut above them, just move your pick towards the bridge. Not super tinny land, but just a little bit more brighter. Like, really? All the time. Like, listen, jeez. I don't have to squeeze my pick so hard because the higher frequencies, right there, you can hear it. And you want to discover this, and now, and the idea is every guitar has a good tonal range. There's a sweet spot, and there's a bassy land, and there's a trebly land, and you want to be able to discover these lands and kind of like implement them in your songwriting or when you're playing with others, or just trying to discover this and really having fun and really push those realms. I will say that, of course, as you know if you watch this channel, I do have a Patreon account, and my Patreon account is a little bit different from what I see out there. They're complete practice sessions about the stuff I present on YouTube. So if you like this, you can check out the Patreon account where I'm going to make bonus videos on how to like sink this stuff into your bones. And so if you're playing in your sweet spot with another band, like another group of people, and they ask you, or if you want to add a bass line, really move that pick towards the headstock. If they ask you to take a solo, then move it towards the bridge. Frequencies will cut right above them. Now, before we go, I'm going to talk about a couple things. I mentioned that we're going to talk about picks. I will say, don't be afraid to discover what pick works best on each guitar. I use my Prodigy 2mm picks for my electric playing. I love it. It makes me feel good. When I got this Taylor, I discovered that playing with my Prodigy 1.5mm picks just felt better. The sound was better. So I switch when I'm playing acoustic to a different pick. And that's about picks. So don't be afraid to discover that. This is your instrument, and if it sounds good and it feels good, then it's good for you. And so the last couple things I want to say is that this is all dependent on the fact that your fretting fingers can really play the notes quite well. They're firmly placed where they need to be. You're not getting any fret bounce like at that thing, right? And also, I just want to talk really quickly about timbre. That's the word I associate with this. They could have a different word, but the meaning is the same regardless, which is, listen to, this is a D here. Oh, sorry. And this is a D here. And this is a D here. And you can see there, the notes are wrapped in different blankets. A thin blanket, a thicker blanket, and a winter blanket. of tone or timbre. And depending on what kind of riff you're writing in your song, you have to decide what timbre or where you want to place your riff. You know, if you're playing with a bunch of people and you write a very simple riff, or the example, if you're playing it down here, you're assuming kind of a bassier roll. If you're playing it here, you're going to place that riff kind of in the middle of everyone. If you're playing it here, the timbre has now put you in the lead position. So discovering where your notes want to be on your left, on your fretting hand or on the fretboard is very important to help kind of placing it in the song. And when it comes to the sweet spot of the guitar, find your sweet spot. If you want to add some bass, move your pick towards the headstock. And if you want to add some treble for your solos, you move your pick towards the bridge. I'll stop talking. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video, if it made sense, if you have any questions. I love teaching guitar and sharing it with you all. Oh, I was told to tell you by one of the subscribers that if you choose to subscribe, make sure you hit the bell icon so you get notifications. That's it. I'm done. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.